afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolene Whitney. Today we're continuing our ongoing series about UVM's natural areas as we spotlight Carse Wetlands Natural Area located in Hinesburg. This 330-acre property is the most recently designated natural area. It was acquired by the University of Vermont in 2013 through a donation from the Carse family. Much of the wetland owes its formation to a beaver dam, and it has since become a birding hotspot, and it's home to important species of plants and animals, including bobcats, coyotes, moose, and white-tailed deer. To talk with us about the Carse Wetlands Natural Area is Brendan Fisher, a Gund Fellow and Professor at UVM Rubenstein School in Environmental and Natural Resources, and the Director of the UVM Natural Area. Welcome.
Thank you, Julie.
And before we jump into some specifics about the Carse Wetlands, let's talk a little bit about kind of maybe a dichotomy between conservation and kind of human involvement. So you guys have been working on fixing up these areas. Tell me what that relationship is like.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a philosophical question. I kind of feel I have to put my professor hat on for that one. There is this kind of dichotomy between conserving natural areas and human activity. But I think there's two ways we can look at that. One of them, on the one hand, is that humans are just another species, although one without a very large impact on what we do. Another one is that we've pretty much impacted every ecosystem on Earth. Thanks to climate change, you can see our thumbprint everywhere. And so I think conservation is really about trying to enact a lot of our values onto the landscape. And so we have to sometimes step back and say, what is our end goal? Lots of preservation back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was about returning some piece of land or seascape back to some pre-Columbian ideal. And I think we've gotten a lot smarter now to understand that ecosystems are constantly changing, and so are our values. So we try to step back and say, what do we really want this land? How do we want it to function? And see what is the human role? When can we step in and help it function in that way? And when do we need to step back and say enough human impact?
And now let's talk a little bit more about the Natural Areas program. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary this year, and that's part of the reason that we're highlighting this. But it's kind of a hidden gem in UVM. How important is this program to the university as a whole?
Yeah, so hidden gem for sure. I mean, these are amazing places, and a lot of our faculty at UVM don't even know that we have 10 natural areas, from an amazing bog complex right on Lake Champlain all the way to the top of Mount Mansfield. They are just wonderful places for education, for recreation, and for research. So how hidden are they? Right now, I would say as the director, they're too hidden, and our hope is over the next few years, starting with this 50th anniversary celebration, is to elevate just the amazing and incredible spaces that we are lucky enough to steward. Sure,
and how many people are visiting these both in the public and at UVM?
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't had any counters out there, and you can imagine, so we have a couple of natural areas that are almost inaccessible. I think you're going to be speaking about Molly Bog next week, and that's a very special place, and I won't pull the curtain behind that. But we don't have very many visitors there. Sure. But Mount Mansfield gets around 30,000 visitors to its summit every year. And so that is, depending on the year and how good our basketball team is doing at UVM, that's about more than go to all of the men's UVM basketball games. So these places are incredible. Centennial Woods right in Burlington, right next to campus, probably gets about 10,000 visitors a year. That's a rough back of the calculator estimate. But lots of our courses go in there to dig soil pits, to understand how to collect insects, to look at stream ecology, to do recreation and orienteering. So these areas are heavily used, and I would say, upwards above 50, 60,000 visitors a year across these 10 spaces.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, but I guess to your point, it depends on where you're going.
Yeah, that's right. And I think one of the things is it's not just the number of people, but the experiences they get to have. So for our students to be able to walk to a forest where they can do lots of research and see birds is a really great thing. When you're standing on the top of Mount Mansfield, it's not just I got to the top of the mountain, but the awe you perhaps feel of the view. You can see the lake from there. It's just a pretty incredible place.
Yeah.
And So one more thing is
go
that
ahead.
during COVID, we published a study where we looked at people's interactions with local natural areas, a lot of them being the ones that we manage. And so during lockdown, when we weren't supposed to go more than 10 miles from our house, we did a survey of people out in their local natural areas. And about 25% of these people never visited the natural area right down the road from their house. And we asked them about why they would go out to these places. And people were citing things like, well, recreation and dog walking, but also peace, stress relief, and somewhat counterintuitively, especially during COVID, was that people were going out to these natural areas to socialize. So while the visits are important, the meaning in these visits, the view from Mount Mansfield, being able to see a beaver take down a willow or something, have real profound effect on people, and we're seeing that in the feedback we get from the studies we're doing.
Absolutely, and now let's take an armchair tour of the Carse Wetlands specifically. The 330 acres that make up the property are used as a recreational area with hiking trails throughout, not to mention a classroom for UVM students to learn about the landscape restoration and leadership.
Welcome to the Carse Wetlands Natural Area, a stunning 225-acre landscape in Hinesburg, Vermont. Acquired by UVM in 2013, this site offers a rich mix of open fields, dense forests, and thriving wetlands, including a central basin of open water. Beyond its scenic beauty, the Carse Wetlands are a vital habitat for diverse wildlife, from bobcats moving through the underbrush to moose feeding in the marshes, and an array of birds that make this area a birder's paradise. There's always something to discover. Today, I'm joining UVM students who visit the wetlands every Friday as part of their course on landscape restoration and leadership.
We could start with a quick introduction.
The class is led by field ecologist and UVM professor Dr. Noelia Barrios Garcia.
This class is mostly a place-based class, so we go to Carse Wetland every single Friday of the semester. The hope is that the students develop this sense of place there, and they learn all the species and the history of the natural areas. This is very interesting from this site because you can walk there and see, some remainders of fencing from the agricultural history, or some equipment that they use for farming, for tilling the land. But then at the same time, right, you can see turtles and egrets and all this wildlife. And I think wetlands are unique in that they combine both terrestrial and aquatic systems. And so they provide habitat and resources for many species. So there's this nice mix of species from these completely different systems that many times people study separately, right? The terrestrial system and the aquatic system. And that's why they are hotspots, because you get all the species there.
Each visit to Carse offers students the chance to hear from a different guest speaker who shares unique insights into how we connect with and understand nature. During our visit, artist and retired UVM professor Cami Davis encouraged students to explore this place through the lens of art, blending creativity with environmental observation.
Somewhere along that 10 to 15-minute walk, I want you to find a natural object and bring it to our meeting place. I want you to walk in silence, be as open to all your senses as you can. Did you have any funny feelings about breaking off something and bringing it here? And that could have been, if you felt like there was presence, it could have been the scientist in you that also didn't want to damage habitat.
What is unique from this class is that we are combining the natural science and the social science, which not many classes do. They usually focus on one side, on the other side. We collected natural objects from the environment and created some collages. So we're trying to use this space to learn both about the natural sides of it and also the social dimensions.
Don't think of this as making art in terms of that it has to look good, that it has to make sense, but rather you're using visual tools to evoke even more memories of that encounter and that choice. We will then go into some written reflection, and then we'll go into storytelling in small groups and lots of talking.
And I wasn't expecting to see flowers, so.
Students are learning a lot about human disturbance in the ecosystems, and we are using Carse Wetland as a living experimental classroom where students learn restoration ecology strategies.
The Carse Wetlands offers more than a chance to study nature. They invite us to reflect on the deep connections between the land, its wildlife, and our responsibility as stewards of the environment. For the students here today, it's clear that whether through art, science, or quiet observation, each visit deepens their appreciation for the delicate balance and beauty of this extraordinary place. From Carse Wetlands, I'm Ben Willis with Across the Fence.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about conservation, wildlife, and ecology with Director of the UVM Natural Area Program, Brendan Fisher. So as we heard just now, that entire area was created by beavers, is that right?
Well, yes, and I mean, if you zoom out, pretty much the entire of North America landscape was impacted or created by beavers. So we had a couple 100 million beavers on the landscape before we trapped them all out, and they were almost extinct in the United States in the early 1900s. So our landscape has completely changed both with beavers in it and without. And if you look at Carse Wetland, if you take a Google Earth image and zoom up, you can see really clear features of where old dams were. So yes, beavers have flooded this area since they've come back in the past maybe 70 or 80 years and really flooded out a lot of the cedar forest, and you can see those images from space. So really neat ecosystem engineer to open up spaces for lots of wildlife, birds, aquatic mammals like otter and mink. So yeah.
Great, incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
And to learn more about UVM Natural Areas, you can visit the website on the screen or tune in every Friday on October when Across the Fence takes you to one of UVM's wildest places. Our next stop will not be missed. That is Molly Bog. And I hope you'll join us then. That takes care of our program for today. My thanks to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX who make our program possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.